Spirit Talkers is brought to you by Southwest Trading Company. Southwest Trading Company is located in Tulsa, Oklahoma at 1306 East 11th Street. Southwest Trading Company is an indigenous-owned business. They have a lot of items like jewelry, blankets, clothing, art, home decor, collectibles, and so much more. Go follow and like their Facebook page to keep up with all events at the store and where they may be setting up. And once again, that is Southwest Trading Company, located in Tulsa, Oklahoma, 1306 East 11th Street. Let them know Spirit Talkers sent you. This podcast is brought to you by Native Co. Bead and Supply, a Native-owned and operated craft supply store, founded to give Native artists a way to craft and sustain their creative minds in helping everyone create indigenously. You can shop online at nativecobeadsupply.com or in store at 520 West 12th Street, Ada, Oklahoma, and let them know Spirit Talkers sent you. All right, everybody, welcome back to Spirit Talkers. Got different camera angles now. We got that one. This one pointing at Chris. If you see his inside his nose, let us know.
Yeah.
And we got that one on me over there. So
I got those big old gorilla nostrils.
Got those pores.
Yeah.
Those big old pores with sweat coming out.
Yeah. Hey, I wanted to say a special thank you to Ryan and Rose Mays with
Native Feather Fireworks.
Yep, that's it. They had a good selection, prices that meets any budget. It was a good deal over there.
A shout out to Rose and Ryan. Yeah, they hit both of us up and they wanted kind of like a promotional type live video on Facebook. And so I went there Friday, like a couple weeks ago, and we had fun. It was fun. We got to shoot little promo for them on live and get the word out about their fireworks stand. And man, it was hot.
I was amazed on all the different fireworks they got coming out this year. You know, the things that they did. I think he had like this emoji firework thing, and he had that one called the evil one that I had to just see, so I got it and blew it up, and it was pretty cool. So, you know, again, I had a pretty good visit over there. I stayed over there for a while and talked with them, and was waiting on a few of you guys that had stories. Y'all were like those spirits, just didn't show up. Go.
I'm on the way.
But thought I was going to do a ceremony to draw them out. But anyway, it was all good, though. I had a good visit over there, and they were good people over there, treated me real good, gave me plenty of water, and it was just a real nice afternoon visiting. It was pretty good, though.
Yeah, it was good. 100% do it again.
Yep.
Yeah.
I always like this time of the year, 4th of July. You know, I always like to blow stuff up and, you know, just have a good time with the friends and family. You know, cook out and swim and just blow something up. And, you know, to me, that's what, you know, I know a lot of you guys may or may not understand, but this time of the year, on these little reservations, it becomes war. You know, you start seeing those things go over, boom, boom. And then it's on.
Yeah, I miss those. I miss being able to run.
Shooting somebody with those Roman candles. Man, but he had this one, what was it, 100
shot.
Yeah, I like, man. See, that's the problem, though. You know, you never can have enough fireworks, especially when you're in war. Mm-hmm. The first person that runs out, you lose.
I remember because we used to do that at Pawnee Powwow, or homecoming, and we used to do it at the that little rodeo part. If anybody's been to Pawnee, you know there's the football field and there's the rodeo. I don't know what you would call it, rodeo expo type of thing. Arena. Thank you. Rodeo arena, and that's where like we would have the firework war. And I remember my dad bought me like a bunch of fireworks, and then dang, I popped them on in about 15 minutes, and then I ran back to him. I was like, "Can we go get some more?"
See, that's what I'm talking about. And that's what I liked about those Ryan and Rose Mays. They had stuff that, you know, affordable for everyone. So, you know, you never run out like that. He even had hand grenades and all kinds of cool stuff. That he had, what was that, those, they were like Roman candles, but it came in like a huge old tube, like a 100-shot Roman candle. I'm like, dang, boy, that'll like be like a bazooka.
Yeah, I'd be like boom, 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 boom. Yeah, it was I think it was called the Beast or something like that. It was like a big old fat Roman candle.
Yeah,
and it had about 100 shots in it.
He had one that had like, what, 100, and then it digressed, you know, and I think he had one for like $12, but it still shot off like, I don't know, so many at one round. And I'm like, man, then he had those pop ball rockets.
Yeah, the only place in Tulsa that has bottle rockets would be them, is what he was saying.
Yep. I always liked those bottle rockets. But he had those new and improved ones, too, that, you know, when they would shoot up, they came in all different colors and stuff. And it was pretty cool. So, anyway, shout out to them for, you know, helping these little reservation Indian kids to not get blowed up. No.
Yeah, and then what was really cool was they had a discount, 10% discount. Native discount, so that was cool. So I hope everybody got to go over there, get your fireworks, and next year it'll be the same thing. It'll be at the same place, selling fireworks. And if we're over there, we better get over there.
We ought to do a live episode next year, 4th of July. Let's go into war with one of these other podcasts. No,
with toke signals.
Dang. We might just blow them up, boy. Before they even knew what happened, they done got blowed up. Boy.
We're calling out toke signals and Classic Wolf and Magnez.
God, come on down, guys.
Yeah, we'll each build a fort, and then we'll just shoot at each other.
That would be awesome. I would love that, man.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Oh, yeah, and then the right potatoes. So it'd be full-on war. We'd win. We'd win because we'd have Rose and Ryan behind us for infinite ammo. Unlimited ammo.
Dang. Those poor guys get blowed up, boy.
Like cartoon characters when we're done. Just all blown up.
They'd all look like that wolf and Roadrunner.
Yeah, Wile E. Coyote.
Yeah, Wile E. Coyote. That's it. Oh.
But yeah, shout out to Rose and Ryan, and then the podcast we just shout out: Classic Wolf, Right Potatoes, Magnez, Toast Signals. Go check them out. But I think we had a few leftover Ouija board stories. Well, I would say leftover. I would say late entries.
Well, let's hear them. I'd like to hear them.
Well, Chris, you had all of them. No,
yeah.
So I have this one, and this one I missed because it was sent to my messenger on Facebook, but since we're not friends or like we're not following each other, it sent it to my message request. So If anybody's ever sent me a message and I didn't see it for some reason, that's because it gets sent there and it doesn't notify me that I have anything there. And so I'm sorry in advance, and I'm going through them now because I got some other messages from people in there too. But so this one is from Jessica. I cannot pronounce your last name. I'm not going to try it because I'm going to get it wrong. But Jessica, I'm Comanche, Kiowa, and would like to share my Ouija story. When I was a kid, I lived in Apache with my foster family back in 1996. And there's an abandoned mechanic shop across the street. So one day, myself and 3 other friends were looking in the window when we walked by and we saw a Ouija board. Of course, as kids, we got curious and go in and get the board. Next, we go to one of the friends' house and play it. It worked. Then, as days go by, we kept meeting up and playing, but weirdly, I ended up with it and kept playing it. That's where things took a turn and started to get really scary. So one evening after playing the Ouija, I fell asleep in my room. All of a sudden, my bedroom door slams and I'm laying on my stomach in my bed. I'm laying on my stomach on my bed. Then I try to jump up and I feel claws. And I couldn't get up because it felt like something big was sitting on my back. The same time growling in my ear. I tried to scream, but almost felt like I was paralyzed. So I finally get the words out, "Please, God, help me." Then all of a sudden I can move. Then afterwards, days on, I kept seeing a dark figure in the house. The scariest thing out of all of this, something bad happened to each of us friends. One was murdered, there was a suicide, and things spiraled downward for each of us. For some reason, I tried to throw the board away, but was back in my room. So I walked it back to the mechanic shop and prayed afterwards. From then on, I never saw it again or ever played another. Lesson learned, never open anything up that you're not ready for, and Ouija boards are nothing to play with. Love you all, my favorite guys to listen to. Have a blessed day.
That was a good one.
Man, what'd you think of that one, Chris?
That was pretty good.
Have you heard of that? Like trying to get rid of it and it just comes back to you?
Oh yeah. That's why I was saying sometimes, people think it's just easy to get rid of these evil things, but sometimes some of these things will fight back and they won't go. And I've heard multiple stories of people trying to get rid of these things, and it just keeps coming back and coming back and coming back, and then eventually it gets them. Mm-hmm. So again, to me, I wouldn't mess with these things unless you really had to, for whatever reason, a good reason, I guess. But, some of these things, they're hard to get rid of. I have a story from Pawnee. It's basically a confirmation, I guess, story. It's from Jean Howe. She's from Pawnee, Oklahoma. Her Ouija board story is with her sister Carol. Her sister Carol was 10 and I was 7. I don't remember where the board came from. We were asking simple questions and she asked who was answering. It spelled out Beelzebub. So we went to ask Grandma, and she said, "Hina, that's a name for the devil. The devil uses that." We were scared and put the board away. Later, Grandpa took it out of the house and never saw it again. But that is my confirmation.
What did it say?
It said they asked it who it was, and it spelled out Beelzebub. And that's the name of the devil.
Oh, really?
Supposedly.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Wow.
Anyway, and that was in Pawnee, Oklahoma.
Mm.
I have a kind of a short story from a Samantha. She sent this story in. Basically, what she was saying on this story was that, she had, her and her friends were playing with this Ouija board, and things just went bad. They just kept giving them bad news, and that bad news would turn out to be true, and one after another. Finally, her and her friends finally said, hey, maybe we shouldn't be playing with this. Mm-hmm. So they tried to destroy it, or they tried to throw it away, basically. They put it in a trash can, mm-hmm. and then later on it showed up at somebody else's house. And the reason they knew it was the same Ouija board was it had a specific design on it. And it was, they had purchased it from a game store. And it had kind of like, it was kind of like one of those, Halloween editions. Mm-hmm. And it had all these Halloween characters on it. And anyway, it was the same one. So so-and-so tried to throw it away again. And they threw it away into the city dump. They drove it out there mm-hmm. personally and dropped it off and then went home. And then it showed up at somebody else's house again. It's just all these girls that were playing with this Ouija board. It was just kind of like going from house to house. Mm-hmm. Finally, one of those girls said, well, I'm going to burn it. I'm going to burn it up. And so they burned it. And it was like a couple of days later, it showed up again. And they thought, well, maybe somebody's just messing with them or whatever. So they took that Ouija board and they tried to burn it again this time. Before they burned it, they put spray paint on the box of an X. And they burned it. They burned the whole thing outside. And they said it was a couple days later, it showed up again. And so they got pretty freaked out after that. And they said, well, we'll find somebody that might help them. So they went to the local church in their area. And the pastor of that church kind of, he said, well, I don't really believe in all that stuff. But he said, I know demons are real. And, that's one thing that, you guys might have conjured up, messing with this. So he said, I'll take it and I'll take it back and I'll put it somewhere safe. And that's what he has done. And it's never showed up again.
Well, see, Chris, don't be messing with that. No, I mean, that's another story of just it coming back all the time.
Yep.
So it was just unharmed?
Yeah.
When they burned it?
Yeah, but they said when they spray painted that box, mm-hmm. it had that spray paint on it. Mm. So, I don't know.
Well, I got a little surprise for you, Chris.
God.
No. That brings up so this lady messaged me and she said, hey, they have these at Target. And she sent me a picture of one from Target. So Target sells Ouija boards. Not saying go buy them. We're not condoning to play it, to buy it. Don't be sitting there saying we told you to buy it and do all these crazy things because, man, we're not telling you to do anything. We're just talking about stories of the Ouija board. This one, I don't know if you want us to say your name or not, but I'm just going to say anonymous. My roommate and his friend wanted to see if those boards were real. They got one from a thrift store. One day after work, I came home to them playing with it. They said it wasn't really doing anything with just them two. After dinner, they talked me into trying it with them. I didn't really trust them, so we decided to think of questions but not say them out loud. Every question was answered correctly. I asked it simple things like, where do I work and what is my middle name? It spelled the answers out, scary, accurate. I didn't want to play anymore, so I let it go and they kept playing. No matter what question I asked, it kept spelling my name. I joined in again thinking it was just them playing jokes on me. I made my questions harder and it kept spelling answers right. I started to feel sick and I stopped. They left to get drinks and smokes. I went to bed. They said when they returned, the planchette was right in front of my bedroom door and the board had black lines across. No, I refuse to ever play with any Ouija boards again.
Again, I mean, to me, I mean, it all, when these things come around, they get attracted, and sometimes, you know, they get, how you say, you know, they just want to be around you. And, you know, one thing people got to understand, that Ouija board, you know, and things like it, it's just a tool. You know, again, it helps you communicate. And after it kind of bridges that gap, you really don't need that board anymore, because, you know, they've got into your mind or your psychic ability. And when it reaches that point, then, you know, good luck.
I had some messages say, I played it, but nothing happened.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just kind of wondering why nothing happened.
Well, I mean,
I don't know if they wanted something to happen, but with their experience of playing it, just like nothing happened. The planchette didn't move. There wasn't no feelings about it. And I basically said, like, well, you know, maybe he didn't want to talk to you.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like anybody else. I mean, and again, it's all about your connection. You know, maybe you had too much on your thoughts, you know, or, you know, like you were saying, it just didn't want to talk to you. Or, I hate to say this, but sometimes these things have personalities, just like someone else.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just like you go into a crowd, you want to go talk to somebody. Maybe they talk to you, maybe they don't. Maybe they just look at you and walk off. Mm-hmm. And it's the same way with these supernatural things. Maybe it didn't find no interest in you. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But if you keep messing with it, you might. Not that I'm condoning or telling you to go play with it more. But if you were to, you know, you probably would get something to visit with you. But I wouldn't recommend that. I would just say, count yourself lucky and just move on.
Yeah. True. Yeah, don't be messing with it.
Because, you know, I've heard that too. I've heard people say, well, I played with it, but nothing happened to me, you know, and I don't see nothing wrong with it. It's just a game. But, you know, again, maybe it's trick, you know, make you think, you know, ain't nothing wrong with it. And then bam.
True.
It's too late. It's got you.
Yeah. Yeah. So once again, we're not condoning to play with it. Don't go buy it. Don't go finding it, messing around and saying we told you to. Because that's far from the truth.
Yep.
But that was all I had.
Well, that's all you had. Yeah, like I'd said, you know, with those Ouija boards, you know, just like anything, you know, sometimes they work, sometimes they don't, and you know, sometimes they work in a good way, and sometimes they don't work in a good way. And so, you know, like you said, we're not condoning it. We're not asking you to go out and play with these things. But, you know, all I can say is, you know, just be cautious when you do use these things, or you want to go use these things, because it might show up and then you can't get rid of it.
Yep. And then, so I guess with that, we're going to start into the topic of the hour.
Yep. You know, the reason I like this first part, you know, it kind of gives us an opportunity to delve into the next portion. You know, all these things, you know, that we're talking about today. Today is our topic is about tarot cards. You know, and I got an opportunity to visit with some local tarot card readers, and they were kind of informing me and kind of teaching me, you know, a few things. So y'all better watch out. No, I'm just teasing.
Got his cards right here.
Oh. So I got the electric version. No, I'm just kidding. Oh. No, you know, the thing that, you know, there's how you say, misconception about tarot cards. A great misconception, and it's also promoted by these tarot card makers and in the industry itself, because again, just like with the Ouija board, it's created to, sell a product, and that product is, how they say, I can't hardly pronounce it, divination tool, which means helps you communicate with, spirits, or however you want to consider that. A lot of the stories you'll hear is that it was created in the 1700s. It showed up in Western Europe, and then you hear other stories that this was from the Egyptian people, and it was the word Tot. It was an Egyptian god named Tot, but the Egyptian words for ter is road, and ro is wisdom. So when you put those together, tarot, you have a road of wisdom. And, again, you have several different, tarot groups or organizations, or however you might say it. They all argue who, had it first. You have people from India, Asia, Hebrew, Egypt, Italy, France, Romania, Spain. They all claim, that, they were the first to, kind of create these things. But, most people, they'll say, oh, it came from Europe. But, again, the tarot cards are old in itself. The thing that they always mention was that it was first created as a regular card game. Just like you play poker or whatever. And I when they were telling me this, I was sitting there thinking, dang, they was playing this, and they said, I got you with death, and they throw that card on the table.
Well, I heard it was like bridge, that game Bridge.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard it was I was reading that it was around that Europe time, that 15th century.
Yeah.
Was what they claimed, and it was a card game like Bridge or the game we play today is Bridge, but it was back then with those tarot cards. And so I've never played Bridge before, but
I ain't either, but I was picturing all kinds of things when they was telling me that, and I was like, dang. But all these tarot organizations that do that fortune reading and things like that, they'll tell you, your basic tarot cards have 78 cards. And in that 78 cards, you have two groups of cards. One is the 22 major arcana cards, and then the rest are the minor arcana cards. And arcana, it just means secrets, and, from a lot of these local, tarot card readers, they all had a different perspective and a different philosophy and a different school of what they were taught. But the bottom line, that they talked about was that, it's to help you, I don't know how you say, not really tell the future, but it helps you, gives you insight into the future. And so I thought this topic was very interesting. The thing that everyone talked to me about was the different spreads. And what they mean by that is how to read these cards. And again, I'm not condoning doing this. I'm not promoting this. This was just something that was asked of us to, talk about. And, I'm not a tarot card reader. I'm not one of these guys, so I don't mean any disrespect or anything like that, on this episode. I'm just kind of giving the information that was given to me on these tarot cards, And again, one of the main thing is that there are thousands and thousands of different tarot decks out there, and within that tarot decks, there are 3 that are most commonly used today. They have the Rider-Waite-Smith is the most common used today. And that one, that's what you see all these other artistic tarot cards kind of, I don't know what you say, emulating from this one. Plus it's cheaper, and you got all these different artists making these different designs that make that. The second one is a Tarot di Marcellus, is the oldest in Italy, and those cards are still being used today as well. And you'll see different decks kind of looking like that. And then the ones that you hear the movies are made out of and all the scary stuff are the Golden Dawn decks. And that is for the occult version. Those ones are a little bit more, how you say, can be used in a not so good way. And anyway, that's, again, like I was saying, there's different tarot deck cards, but there's also different people that use these things in a different way. And the misconception is that it's only used to interpret how you say, like the future or and things like that. And what I was kind of amazed with, is all the meanings behind these cards. I'm gonna have Russell kind of go over the different cards, and when you mess them up and you read them, whether they're top or bottom, they have different meanings. And this is what I thought was very interesting, and I'm gonna let Russell, if he can read them.
Which ones are these?
Those are the 22 Arcadian cards.
Okay. So we got the Fool. Hold on. I was trying to see if there's a way I could just put it on the screen, but it's too long. So the Fool. Actually, where'd you find this at? Kind of cite it.
One of those tarot people sent it to me to
names.
Yeah,
no, I was kidding.
God,
full name. No,
to show me that these cards have different meanings. If you pull it out, like you do 1 spread or 2 spread or 3 spreads. When you pull like the Death card, for example, it doesn't mean you're going to die. It has something different meaning, and that's what she was wanting to show me, that you can utilize this in several different ways, but I'll let you pick a couple of them. And
yeah, so I'll try to, if you send me this, I'll try to put it on the screen. So we got the Fool. Upright is new beginning, innocence, spontaneity,
spontaneous.
No, it's like spontaneity. Reversed, recklessness, fearlessness, risk. The Magician, creation, strength, clarity. Reverse, dark powers, manipulation, narcissism.
Read death. What does death mean?
It's not on here. Got the Devil on here.
Well, do the Devil then.
Nope.
Yeah.
I'm scared. No, just kidding. No, death, upright, end, letting go, new beginning, reverse, stagnation, holding on, grief. The Devil, upright, is temptation, seduction, materialism. That's upright. Reverse, freedom, lack of will, and resentment. Star, upright, faith, hope, fortune. Reversed, insecurity, discouragement, faithlessness. World, arriving, life, spontaneity. Reversed, incompletion, emptiness, lack of closure.
That's good.
Hermit, That's me.
Yeah.
No, it means upright wisdom, independence, awareness, reversed isolation, resignation, and distance. That is me.
Well, we kind of get the idea after that. But, again, like they were saying that these cards all represent stuff. And they can all be interpreted. Now, what they sent me was the basic interpretations. Starting to get to know these cards that you shouldn't
about yourself.
Oh yeah, you start off with yourself, and after you read more and more and more, then you can try to read somebody else. But the bottom line is like that example that they had sent me. That's just an example. That's to kind of start you off. And then once, you start kind of getting more tapped into that spiritual world, then the visions or the things that these cards are going to tell you are more specific. And so they said when you go out and buy these decks, you shouldn't just go out and just buy them because, they look keen to you or whatever. They said that if you're truly wanting to do this, these cards will call you. You'll pick the right ones that are for you. And once you do that, that's the only card you should play with. You shouldn't do multiple cards or you shouldn't purchase different decks or anything like that. One deck is yours. And they say a lot of people they'll collect different decks and they'll read from this deck and they'll read from that deck. And they said true tarot readers, they have their own personal deck and nobody is allowed to touch their cards. And once they pass on, those cards must go with them. That's what every one of those guys told me. And so again, I don't know, again, I'm not again meaning to offend anybody, or I'm not acting like I know everything. I'm just telling what was told to me. And so they said that these cards, each one of these guys, they had different perspectives of these cards and how they utilize them and what they do with them. And they talked about how these cards have its own spirit. And that's why they frown on people that purchase or collect different decks, because then you start messing yourself up. And they also said that, how you read these things, depends on the spread. And the spread, they say, it's just like what you need. For example, maybe you only want to do this for personal issues or personal, things. And they said that when you do this, you can do like a one card spread, which means you just pick one card. Maybe it's the card of the day, how your day's going to be. You might ask it how it's going to be. You focus on that. Then you pick the card from the deck, and that'll be what it'll tell you how your day is. And then you can go and look at that list or other lists and kind of find out what that card is, like you read off, the different ways that it came. If it came up front ways where the man's standing upright, then it means something. Or if it's flipped around and the guy's head is down towards the ground, it means something totally different. And so they said, in reality, they said it's just a tool to help you focus on what it is. And then I had one group tell me that, there are other groups out there that doesn't do that in a good way. They can manipulate situations with these cards. And they said that point you don't hear very much about. Everybody is more into the fortune telling part. But what they don't understand is that, you know, some of these organizations, you know, they utilize these different spirits to help them tell these futures, you know, and that's where you start going into different elements. You'll see, if you've ever gone to like one of these fortune telling people, you know, they'll either use a crystal ball or they'll use these cards or whatever. They'll have something extra with it. But all these things kind of do the same thing. And some of the similar, you know, things that you might see these people utilize or use a combination with is palm reading. Then you also have the crystal ball. They'll use bones and blood and use roots and spit and use crystal pendulums. Now, I've seen a lot of all of these, you know, especially a lot of the tribes long time ago, that was common practices with the bones and blood and also the roots and the spit. And that is actually still being used today in a lot of native cultures. So to me, that made sense to me. You know, I looked at that and I said, wow, that's pretty cool, you know, that, you know, all these guys are kind of talking about these things. And these individuals that I visited with, you know, they're in the Tulsa area. You know, they were, you know, I'm thankful for them to come to me and give me this information and share this information with me. And they also, you know, stress that, you know, dealing with these things sometimes, again, something that you don't always hear is the negative side of things as well. They all said that there is a negative side to tarot. And, you know, again, they all had different stories of these negative sides of tarot. And, you know, this is, I thought was very interesting. I had one tell me a personal story that, you know, they only read for themselves. They did it for the public, but they began to start having issues. And their story was pretty interesting. Their story goes like this, you know, they started reading these cards when they were real young, and, you know, they got to kind of learn more and more as time gone by. And they had someone that kind of showed them how to do this, you know, how to do these tarot cards and things like that. And I forget, there's a certain name of the way they read. You know, there's different, like I said, there's just, this tarot stuff is just really expanded. You know, it's not just one set of cards and you do it this way and you do it that way. Each one of these groups, they have their own way of doing things. And so she was telling me that this was something that was taught to her, and she used it, you know, on herself, and then when she got older, she started doing it for her friends, you know, kind of reading and doing stuff. And she started meeting people, and she said this is where she kind of ran into the problem. And she started to, sell her gift, you know, to the public, you know, and people started coming to her and giving her money for her to read their future. And, you know, then she started having people come to her, you know, talking about, you know, how someone did them wrong, and, you know, they would like for her to, you know, cause something, you know, not so good to happen. I'll just say that much. And with the way she was taught, there's certain things that they can manipulate and move these cards into a certain way that can hurt people. And it started out, you know, kind of in a good way, you know, kind of like a vigilante type thing, doing bad to these bad people. But then, it just progressed and it snowballed into bigger and worse things. And then, she said that she had these things come to her home. And she said that they would wake her up in the middle of the night because they were wanting someone. They were needing someone. And, she was constantly sending these things out. And she said, got to the point where that most of the people around her that she knew and she cared about were all gone, and she started running out of people to put this stuff on. And these things kept wanting and desiring things. Then she realized that she finally realized that she was the evil. And it took a lot of stuff to get rid of that stuff. And she said people don't understand that part. They think it's just, how you say, just for, how do you say, just kind of like fortune telling. But there is a wicked side to it too. And she said there's a high price to get out of it.
Yeah, I was seeing, well, I know, like, from what I've seen on not Facebook, but TikTok, a lot of people will do these readings on their live feeds. There's also people that dedicate their whole profile to these readings and stuff. And so I've come across a few, and it's basically, I'll watch them, but I don't know what group they're in. I don't know who they represent. I don't know if they have a lot of cards, like a lot of decks. I don't know. I don't dive into their lives, their lives as much as what they're showing, I guess. And so, but from what I see is like they have their decks, and I don't know, they pick somebody in the chat. Somebody's like, "Oh, do mine," or whatever they say, and all right, and then they'll ask them a few questions, like, like, what do you want to know? You want love? Do you want success? Like, what's your like ultimate? What do you want to see? I guess, and so they'll tell them, and they'll start shuffling those cards, and then they'll talk to spirit. They'll say, "Spirit, come around me," and they'll start shuffling those cards, and like each card that falls out is the card for that person. And so they're just shuffling and shuffling and shuffling, and then each card that rolls out, I think what they pull, like, how many do they pull?
Well, my understanding, it just depends on the spread, which means, like, for example, if you want to know what your day is going to be like, it's going to be one card, or they'll have like a 3 card. I've got those. Hold on. They told me.
Well, they do it like they do 6 or 8 at a time, and so and I think that person doing the shuffling will feel it, I guess, and so they'll just shuffle until one falls out, and so finally they'll get all of them and they'll line them up, and then that's when this one's up, this one's reversed, and they'll start explaining like what that tells about what they want to know. They'll make it to where they understand it in that type of way, and so they'll do that, and they'll just do it all over again. They'll ask somebody else, but I've come across so many different profiles that do that.
Yeah, the thing I think is cool is about those spreads. They was talking about a 12 card spread, and that's like a spread that you would do for a whole year, like before the beginning of the year. You'll do this spread, and it's 12 cards, and each one represents the month. It'll tell you how your year's going to be. They have a 3 card spread. that, you know, talks about past, present, and future. And there's a reason why they ask that. Then that kind of represents your goals. And you can have multiple goals or less goals, you know, whatever that is, that's how many cards they're going to pick. Then they'll have a 4-card spread, which this one I think is cool, is because it talks about who, what, how the solution's going to be, and the outcome. Mm-hmm. That's the 4 cards. And so that's when you're dealing with somebody that might be a problem. Mm-hmm. And they were telling me that, you know, these are pretty dead on. You know, when you go to these guys, you'll be shocked. You know, if they know what they're doing and they're in tune and they have the right cards and everything's right, they're going to read you pretty good. And this goes to my next story. My next story, this individual is telling me that, you know, they actually own a fortune-telling, I don't know what you call it, fortune-telling company or job or whatever here in town. Anyway, she says that, you know, the thing that, you know, she has one client that, you know, spends a fortune because this individual's kind of lost themselves, kind of lost their minds, because, you know, they came in first time, you know, for a reading about their marriage, you know, and, you know, she was able to read it and it was right. And then, you know, maybe a month later, this individual come back in, asked about his finances, and she was able to do that. Came out pretty good, you know. And then he had other questions about other things in his life, and now he comes like almost like two or three times a day. He's that addicted. Mm-hmm. And she tries not to have him come so much because, you know, she understands that he's not living his life. He's letting the cards live his life. Mm-hmm. And sooner or later, he's going to run out of cards, she said. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so she said, that's the downside of this, you know, and some people, you just can't stop them from coming.
Mm-hmm. Addicting. It can be addicting because you're already getting your fix of like, well, what's going to happen? Because everybody wants to know, what is your fortune? Mm-hmm. What's going to happen the next day? How's my life going to go? And that's like one thing everybody wants to know is like, am I going to be a success? What's going to happen? Am I going to be happy, sad? Are things coming my way that I can't control? Which is all the time. You can't control anything. Like, and I mean, I don't know. It just goes back to wanting to know your future. You just want to know your future. Everybody does.
Well, I have another story if you don't mind reading it for me.
I got my first tarot cards from a tearaway insert in 17 magazine when I was 16. Since then, I have been studying them. I'm now 42. I've owned many decks, and they tend to have a life of their own. I currently have 2 decks. My most connected deck I got back in 2014 from Barnes & Noble bookstore. Anyway, a few years back, I did a reading, and for some unknown reason, I put that deck away in a kitchen drawer. Usually I have a private place I keep them, but I didn't put this deck back where I usually kept them. Every morning I woke up, that drawer in the kitchen would be open. At first I didn't think anything of it, but after the 3rd day I knew they were telling me to put them back where I usually keep them. So I did. I'm now aware that tarot card decks are a spirit and should be treated as such. Oh, dang, about dropped your phone. About fell in reverse.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that spirit. Yeah, that spirit's real. Especially when I saw those people not playing, but saw those people dealing with the decks on live. They were really calling that spirit. Did they tell you like when they do that, do they have to shut that door when you call that?
Yeah, they say like anything, you have to open and you have to close it.
Okay.
And so even when they read somebody, sometimes that person might have their own, like you say, spirit guide along with you, or a guardian angel with you that kind of tells them information too. And that's another thing, they talk about that once they've had enough training and enough years, they can commune with those things. And those cards, again, end up just being a tool to help them focus and to help them, kind of bring clarification on their readings. And that's what I thought was so cool about this topic, to me, again, whether you're looking at it as, fortune telling or just a game or whatever, this thing can give you some kind of insight, because they're, as you see in those cards, they have so many different meanings, so many different things that no matter what, you can kind of put your own interpretation on that, and you can either twist it good or you can twist it bad. So,
yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah. You ever thought about buying some?
I got 2 of them at home right now. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding. God. And they're huge, so I can see them. No, I'm just teasing. But here's another story that was sent to me. Again, this one wants to be anonymous. She said, again, she really believes in this stuff, and a lot of her relatives, do this, and so, she said this happened a few years ago, and she said she was having some bad luck, some situations, that in her life, and anyway, one of her relatives recommended going to see this other lady on her reservation that can, that does this tarot reading and stuff. Anyway, she went to go see her, and she told her, she said, what the cards are telling me is somebody's witching you. Someone's putting this and putting that on you. And she said, I can send it back, to whomever if you want, or I can break that spell for you. And so she said, yeah, go ahead and, I just want it broken. I don't want it sent back or anything. I just want it to be left alone. And so she did something, and, she said, okay, she went back home, and, she paid her the money. She went back home, and, things was pretty good. Then she started having bad luck again, real bad luck. And so she thought, well, I'll go back to that lady, and see. And she went back, and, she told her, said, this thing's going wrong, that's going wrong for me, this. And she said, she read the cards, and the cards said, well, somebody's doing something to you. You need to, take care of that. You got this card and that card, and this is what's going to happen if you don't, take care of this. And so she got scared. So she said, okay. She said, but this time it's going to cost you, quite a bit to have this taken care of. So she said, okay. So, she named her price, and so she went and collected the money, came back, and she supposedly broke this spell. Anyway, this gone on for about a couple years, and she kept going back and forth to this lady, and she kept saying this person was doing this, and that person was doing this to her, and she... Every time that she needed to have this taken care of, it seemed like the price kept going up. and it got to the point where she just could not afford it anymore. She couldn't have this last one broken. So she had an idea. She said, well, I'll ask around, and because there's a lot of ladies on that reservation that kind of knows how to do that stuff. And anyway, she went to this other lady to read, get her fortune told. And this lady read the cards, and she goes, yeah, somebody's witching you. Said, but it's that person that you're going to see. They're making this happen to you. And she said, are you serious? She said, yes, this is what's taking place. She said, she's just doing this to play with you, And she said, well, I can do this, but it's going to cost you. No. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so she paid the price, and anyway, to make a long story short, she said that, something fell bad upon that lady that she first went to. And anyway, I guess on her reservation, there's several people that do this kind of tarot card reading. And, unfortunately, this lady, she took advantage of her. And so her story was that, sometimes you have to be careful who you go to too, because they might be the main ones putting stuff on you.
Manipulation.
Yep.
Yeah. Dang. It happens. People take advantage of each other.
Yep.
Especially with that. I mean,
that's crazy. I was in there, dang.
You're paying more and more and more and more.
But, to me, that in Indian country, I hate to say this, but, you got these new age medicine people, and that's kind of a common story, mm-hmm. In Indian country. These medicine people, they're just out for the dollar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What I say, money is the root of all evil.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. So, y'all better send us some money.
Oh.
Just kidding. Yeah. I mean, you talked about, you mentioned that earlier about being manipulated and being taken advantage of, and the evil side of what could happen. And I mean, that's a great story of just that happening, and then just the person doing that to that person and them not know. Well, I mean, you're not going to know if you're getting who's doing it or what. You're just kind of like, man, I'm getting witched, having all this stuff happen, and this person can take it away, but golly, to keep upping the price.
Yeah,
from $9.99 to $99.99.
Yeah, $199.99. God, and a block of cheese. God, might be 2 blocks of cheese. No. That, like I was saying, there's similarities, out there. You got that palm readers, and those crystal ball, guys that use those, that's also all these things are old, and they're all talking with spirits and using things to read your future, and the thing about this, and we've talked about this on this podcast before, spirits, they don't have no time or place anymore. This body's the only thing that keeps us in this time at this area. It confines us. But when you step into that spiritual realm, there is no past, present, or future. You can do those kind of things. And so all these palm reading, whether it's bones and blood or herbs and spit, all these things, they're calling on a spirit to help tell you things, and again, like I was telling you on that previous podcast, these ways are old. Every group of people had this form of action to talk with the dead, but there was always rules. There were strict rules on when you should communicate and why you should communicate with these things. And so some of these spirits are good and some of these spirits can be bad. So, again, I'm not condoning any of this. I'm not saying, oh, go out there and do it, but this was something that was asked of us, and, trying to give just a little bit of education as much as we can on this topic.
I do tarot for several years. I don't read for clients anymore. The cards have something like a spirit in them. You can sort of get to know a deck of cards. You can learn how it speaks to you. Say I have 3 different levels of cards laying out. I ask the client to choose one of the decks. Whichever deck they choose will tell me the level of information they are willing to hear. I think the coolest experience I had reading cards was early on after I had gotten pretty good. I was pulling cards for a couple of family members. This was not a joint reading. I don't really know how to put it into words. It was as if I was doing a reading one-on-one with each person, one at a time. Everything I said was what each person needed to hear from their individual situation. Each person had their own situation going on that they weren't talking about. When I met the person who became my teacher, I walked into her shop to look around. She told me that my grandpa hears me. I had never told anyone in my life that I still speak to him in my head, even though he passed away a long time ago. He and I were very close. She told me a few other things that no one could know, but that was the most significant that I will never forget.
The thing I like about that story, it to me, again, Indian folks, we have our ways of doing things, and this tarot is, I won't say not native, but it's something that we don't normally utilize, but it has the same fundamentals of a lot of the things that we use, if that makes sense to you. And our old medicine people that had that power, that they used tools too, just like that one I was reading. I was saying, that blood and bones and spitting and herbs, that was real common, even utilized today. As I said, you'll see some tribes, the ones that really know how to do things, they utilize that, and I always crack up because you see all those old Louisiana, Alabama movies, and you see that old witch take that bones and throw it on that pan, and they can read it, and that was the same thing. That was a native thing. A lot of them, they knew how to read those bones, or read that spit or that blood when it went on that ground. What it was telling, it would show them things. Again, it's talking to these spirits to show you, to give you that vision, in here, other than what you actually see either on these cards or in those pans or on that dirt. It's the vision that you see, and that's what those, when I talk to those tarot readers, that's what they were kind of trying to explain to me, that it's not necessarily the card itself, it's the visions, the things that these spirits are telling them to tell themselves or to tell the person that's coming to them. And to me, that makes sense. Well, again, I thought this was a phenomenal topic. I learned a lot on this as well. Again, I've seen tarot card readers. I've been to palm readers. I've been to those guys with those crystal balls, just to see how it is, and what the experience are. And I will say, some were good, and some of them, that I didn't see, or nothing happened the way that those people, said. But, again, I've been to the ones like you will find out at the fair, or, some of these shops. But I've also been, places where, I don't know what you would say, how you would say like the real deal guys that knew how to actually do these things. And I will say those guys were pretty much dead on the money, a lot of times. So, I will say, I do believe in these kind of things. I know I went to dinner with a group of these Osages a couple of days ago, and one of those people was asking us about our next episode, and I was telling him that we were going to do something like this, and he was telling me his experience with tarot. And anyway, he said that the thing that freaked him out was that this person that he just met him at this event, not the event that we were at, but a prior event, and he found out that they could read tarot cards. So he sat down with them and said they got everything right, and everything that they told him happened, and he was shocked on that, and that was his story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm still learning a lot about tarot cards, and so I guess tell people where to follow you.
You can follow me at Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube under Christopher Honka Hill.
Follow me, Russell Sun Eagle, on Facebook. You can add us on Facebook, Spirit Talkers. Or follow us on TikTok, Spirit_Talkers. Follow our Instagram, Spirit Talkers Podcast. And check us out. Oh, yeah. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Spirit Talkers. And if you follow us on TikTok, we'll be going live sometimes. So I think that is it.
Oh.
I don't think we have nothing coming up. We do have some stuff in the works later on. So keep an eye out. So till next time, everybody. Smudge up.